because there may be shame or guilt around their sexual experiences. I too have had some of those stemming from my child's sexual abuse. And so I've then had to work through that. And now I'm able to help my clients work through those feelings of shame and guilty because I get it. I myself have a history of child sexual assault. You may see me as your sensual self specialist, or you may see me as your somatic coach. Possibly, you may see me also as a somatic psychotherapist. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about why I became a sensual self specialist. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to talk to you about why I became a sensual self specialist. I'm going to tell you my origin story. But first, before I do, I'm going to ask that you hit the subscribe button below because you don't want to miss any of this valuable content. And two, please make sure you also hit the notification button so you'll catch it as soon as it's hot off the press. So, I became a sensual self specialist because what you don't know about me is that I'm a child sexual assault survivor. I've had sexual traumas in many other areas of my life. When I decided to reach out for help in my 20s, I could not find help that looked like me. And the person that I went to, it was really hard for her to connect with me and for me to connect to her. And so when I decided that it was time for me to start down this road of helping myself, I also began to think, how can I help other women? Because I saw the value in actually finding someone that looked like me, which I eventually did and was able to get the support that I needed. And along the way, I've had multiple mentors, therapists, mentors, doctors that have helped me get to a place where I am now. As I said before, you know me as a sensual self specialist. You also know me as the trauma somatic psychotherapist. You may also know me as your somatic coach. But what you don't know about me is that I was a child trauma survivor. That also included sexual assault trauma. Because of my childhood, I had it rough. I wore other people's clothes at a certain time in my life. I was a latchkey kid. I think a lot of us were back in the day. And again, I was a child sexual assault survivor. That lasted quite a while. Because of that, I have some memory loss that I like to normalize for my clients as well, because I completely understand that I may never get back. I also have attempted to work through my trauma. I actually have worked through my trauma. Initially, when I did so, hold on before I go there. I also want to talk about the fact that I had bad acne growing up, very bad acne. Like literally, I was on the prescription meds that they say don't get pregnant when I was in high school because my acne was so bad. I can show you the ugly teenager pictures too. Like life has not always been good for me. And because of that, I am a survivor. And when I decided it was time for me to get help, I first went to a therapist to get help, to seek out help. However, my therapist didn't get my story, didn't understand my plight. She tried real hard, but we just weren't able to connect at all. And so I had to seek out additional help through other resources. I went through my church and found an amazing psychologist that was able to help me work through a lot of my issues. However, by then, I had literally did a lot of the work on my own. I had just been blessed through prayer, through my church, and through what I was going through, that I found solace and healing. And so when she came along, she was the icing on the cake that was able to really support me getting through the trauma, some of that trauma that I had in my life. From there, I've had mentors, and I've also been involved in a lot of different programs in order to make sure that I was working on my own healing, because it was important to me. So a latchkey kid is a child that stays by themselves while their parents are probably at work or just away from home. And so I did spend some time from 8 years old up staying alone at home. I would come home from school. I had the key on the little keychain, the string, and I would let myself into the home and I would stay there. I was the only child then. And so it was just me staying in the house until my mom got home. And so for me, I was already an only child, but it also added to the loneliness. I ended up being a TV child, and for years, I slept with the TV on because I was a latchkey kid. And that was my form of entertainment, was being able to watch TV. So just coming in, turning the TV on, maybe talking to friends on the phone, those kind of things, if they were available, while getting my homework done, being responsible, because that's kind of what you do as a latchkey kid. You might mess around a little bit, but you had to get things done because your mom was so busy working that she didn't always have time to come home and assist with homework, because by the time she got home, and my mom rode the bus and rode several buses to get home sometimes, she was wiped out too when she got home. And so that was part of my journey, was being a latchkey kid, being to myself. That was kind of a growing moment for me as well. For some, being a latchkey kid can add to trauma, because although you're home alone, sometimes family members, neighbors, and other people are aware that you're home alone as well. And so for some of them, that's when the predator comes out. So maybe you were a latchkey kid that maybe was touched, fondled, molested, raped, simply because you were home alone and doing all the right things until the family member came over, under the guise of, something positive, but then a negative event happens. That's when the trauma happens. Maybe you were touched. Maybe you were violated in some way that you weren't prepared for. And so that's when trauma can happen for some people. Child sexual assault trauma can definitely, not only does it affect you as a child, but it definitely goes into adulthood. For many people, it looks like, again, the memory loss, not really remembering the things that happened around that time when you were being assaulted. For me, as I stated before, I do have years of memory loss that I'll never get back. I'm okay with that, but a lot of people struggle having gaps of memory that they are uncomfortable with not knowing. For me, I feel like it is my mind's way of protecting me from some things that may have been just too hard for me to bear. A lot of people also deal with, and I myself dealt with issues of maybe being promiscuous at certain times in my younger adulthood. And for some, it goes even back to teenage years or preteen. And so that also was huge, just searching for love because I didn't have the correct type of love around. And so because of that, that leads to trauma as well. That led to a few bad relationships, searching for the right partners, but always ending up with the wrong ones. and also making bad decisions because of it. You don't have the right foundation to start these relationships off on, because you're still in trauma. And when you're in trauma and you're not healing and not correcting it, it feels like even though things may look good, you're still coming from this trauma lens, of this hurt lens. And so it sometimes can be hard to identify what's good for you and what's not. Also from the trauma, when I actually was able to land a great solid relationship, there were definitely still issues of the trauma coming up. And so what that looked like for me was still having issues with safety, still having issues with really feeling secure in my relationships. Sometimes even doing things that were counterproductive for my relationship, because I wasn't used to being in a good relationship. I wasn't used to someone that was actually open to loving me in the way that I wanted to be loved, because I didn't know what that looked like. And so a lot of times that's when I put my shoes on and I went into fight, flight, or freeze mode, which are huge in the trauma realm. And so that's when it would be, if it felt too good, I would find reasons to mess it up. If it felt good, that was uncomfortable for me. If it felt good, then I was freeze up and not know what to do in those relationships. This even could stem into the sexual realm of the relationship. I've spoken with many clients that said that they freeze or their mind wanders. And I've also struggled with this in my relationships, where I don't always stay connected. And this is where I began my journey with somatics, because I wanted to learn how to stay even more connected to my body, because I realized that I deserved it. I really realized that my relationship deserved it, for me to figure out what my needs were and how to meet those needs for myself as well as with my partner. And so from what I've learned, I like to kind of incorporate these different lessons with the women that I support, because we deserve to not only have sex, but have pleasurable sex. We deserve to have all our needs met, not just be the person that's doing the pleasing, but also realizing that we also deserve to be pleased as well. This is hard for a lot of people with trauma. They don't know how to say that they can be pleased, because there may be shame or guilt around their sexual experiences. I too have had some of those stemming from my child sexual abuse. And so I've then had to work through that. And now I'm able to help my clients work through those feelings of shame and guilt, or even what their body is feeling, and kind of identifying whether these are good feelings or whether there are feelings that maybe that they need to, let's figure out where these feelings come from, but also normalizing their journey, because I get it. I myself have a history of child sexual assault. As a child sexual assault survivor, I can usually understand the plight of my clients and why they come to me to get in touch with their bodies over again, for themselves first, and then for their partners. And so how do you know if you too have experienced trauma? Possibly you may not like to be touched sexually. You may not even like hugs from your partner, kisses from your partner. You may not like subtle touches, subtle glances. Some may not even like being touched by your children. Breastfeeding could be a challenge as well. You may also struggle with your own self-worth and self-confidence. You also may feel as if no one will ever love you, because maybe the person that loved you, that you felt loved you, hurt you. This also could look like, I'm tired of trying. I'm tired of trying to remember the hard things. But it could also look like, I'm looking for answers and I'm looking how to reconnect with my body, because I know I did nothing wrong and I deserve to be happy. And so join me here on my channel to help you connect with your body in my Somatically Sensual station. This is going to be a journey to support you in identifying what really works for you and how you're going to connect with your body somatically.